Again, good afternoon. I'd like to welcome you to this Bidders Conference for the Increasing Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion in the Building and Construction Trades through Apprenticeships and Pre-Apprenticeships Grants Initiative. The purpose of this meeting is to provide you with information as detailed in the associated Notice of Grant Availability, which was released on March 27th, and of course to allow for questions from you. My name is Sam Premack, and I am a Workforce Development Supervisor for the Apprenticeship and Training Office. I will be managing this grant program, serving as your point of contact for questions and technical assistance. With me, I have a number of staff from the Apprenticeship and Training Office, and I believe Tara Lowe, Director of the ATO. Tara, are you on?
I'm here, Sam.
Great. Just wanted to make sure before I turned it over to you. I also want to introduce Kent Polson, who is a fiscal technician with the Bureau of Workforce Development Administration. He will be doing a brief overview of the budget summary that will be requiring of interested applicants. So for now, I would like to turn it over to Director Lowe for a brief welcome message, as I know she will have to run to another meeting, partway through this conference. So Director Lowe, floor is yours.
Thanks so much, Sam. Welcome everyone to this call. Thank you for joining us. We're extremely excited to have this opportunity for everyone, and extremely excited for and thankful for the past administration as well as this administration's support of quality registered apprenticeship programs. We truly believe that this initiative is going to give awardees the chance to really dive into creating a diversity, equity, and inclusion strategy, and also support bringing on additional apprentices from populations that are traditionally underserved in apprenticeship. You are in great hands with Mr. Premack on this call, and anyone from our team. We're so appreciative and in all of the work that they do. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to reach out to myself or anyone from our team. And we are hopeful that we will continue to have opportunities like this in the future. But by no means does that mean don't take advantage of this right now, this opportunity right now. I think it will only help, again, all of your current programs and potential future programs excel. So thank you so much. Just wanted to say thank you in a few words.
Thank you, Director Lowe. Appreciate it. So there are a few items that I'd like to cover before we begin. Again, I do want to let you know that this Bidders Conference is being recorded. We do ask that you enter any questions you have using the chat feature throughout the presentation. And again, you can do that throughout the conference. We will provide answers to these questions during the question and answer period, which we usually reserve for the end of the meeting. So everything that is being covered today is included in the NGA, apart from questions and answers, which we will then transcribe and provide on the L&I Grants webpage in the near future. So with all of that said, I'd now like to begin with a brief overview of this initiative. The Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, which was signed into law in 2021, made funding available to support Pennsylvania's infrastructure and economic growth. And while the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act presents future growth opportunities with both traditional and non-traditional occupations, increased support for the building and construction trades is critical given the focus of the legislation. Increased employment opportunities within the building and construction trades will necessitate a pipeline of diverse and skilled workers ready to meet the infrastructure needs addressed through the Act. Fortunately, diversity, equity, and inclusion, or as we refer to it, DEI, is significantly lacking in the building and construction trades. According to data from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, only 10.9% of those employed in the construction industry in the year 2022 were women. 87.3% of the construction workforce was white, while only 6.7% and 2.1% of the workforce was African American and Asian, respectively. 34.2% of construction workers are Hispanic or Latino, but it is important to note that this is a measure of ethnicity and not race, and they are often in lower level positions without opportunity for advancement. DEI within the building and construction apprenticeship programs that are out there is also lacking. As of 2021, only 7.2% of construction apprentices were women, 92.8% were men, 57.3% of construction apprentices were white, 9.8% were African American, and 2.5% were Asian. So apprenticeships in general are severely behind in serving underrepresented populations and supporting DEI within their programs. Women accounted for only 13% of the people who completed registered apprenticeships in the year 2022, and 15% of new apprentices. African Americans accounted for only 8% of apprentices completing their programs, and 13% of new apprentices. By contrast, in the year 2022, 83% of new apprentices coming into federally registered programs were male, and 59% were white. So despite these major deficits with regard to DEI, apprenticeships still have a track record of success in advancing the careers of workers, and they present a great opportunity to address education and skill needs for individuals with barriers to employment, as well as those in underserved communities. So the Pennsylvania Department of Labor and Industry's Increasing Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion in the Building and Construction Trades through Apprenticeships and Pre-Apprenticeships Grant Initiative seeks to address an anticipated increase in employment opportunities as a result of the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, particularly within the building and construction trades, and continually and proactively increase diversity, equity, and inclusion in the construction industry while also building a pipeline of talented workers. Under this initiative, a total of $1 million is available in competitive funding with a focus on building diverse talent pipelines and reaching underserved populations in the building and construction trades. Specifically, this grant opportunity will award competitive grants at the following levels: up to $65,000 per application for apprenticeship and or pre-apprenticeship programs that have a single county or localized reach. Up to $90,000 per application is available for group-sponsored apprenticeship and or pre-apprenticeship programs. And up to $125,000 per application for apprenticeship and or pre-apprenticeship programs that have a statewide or multi-county reach. And we define a multi-county reach as a program that serves 3 or more counties. Through this initiative, the ATO's goal is to encourage the development or expansion of a diverse pipeline of underserved registered apprentices and pre-apprentices in the building and construction trades from non-traditional populations, updates to currently existing affirmative action plans, and creation of a strategy to ensure DEI for current registered apprenticeship programs and registered pre-apprenticeship programs in the building and construction trades. Expansion of current registered apprenticeship programs and registered pre-apprenticeship programs in the building and construction trades. And growth of pre-apprenticeship programs within the building and construction trades that are replicated in multiple counties and or regions. Eligible applicants for this initiative include organizations that serve as sponsors or intermediaries of registered apprenticeship and or pre-apprenticeship in the building and construction trades. And of course, any eligible applicant may serve as the fiscal agent for this grant. This NGA is 100% funded by Federal Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act funds. $0 and 0% of these awards will be funded by other sources. So now we'll take a look at the project outcomes per grantee. So the first two are outcomes required of all grantees, regardless of the project being proposed. First, we're looking for grantees to update currently existing affirmative action plans. Affirmative action plans must be updated within the Registered Apprenticeship Partners Information Database System, also known as RAPIDS, by June 30th, 2024 as a requirement of the grant. We're also requiring grantees to develop a DEI strategy using the template that's provided in Appendix J of the NGA to touch upon all aspects of the registered apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship programs supported through this grant. This strategy must be submitted to the ATO by June 30th of 2024, and then of course uploaded into RAPIDS. So the outcomes listed on the next two slides are really more dependent on the type of project being proposed. For applicants focusing on expanding individually sponsored registered apprenticeship programs in the building and construction trades, we're asking that at least 8 new apprentices from traditionally underserved populations be served during the grant period. For applicants focusing on expanding existing registered apprenticeship programs utilizing a group model in the building and construction trades, we're asking that at least 3 employers and 25 apprentices from traditionally underserved populations be served during the grant period. For applicants focusing on expanding existing registered pre-apprenticeship programs in the building and construction trades, we're asking that at least 20 pre-apprentices from traditionally underserved populations be served during the grant period. For applicants focusing on expanding existing registered apprenticeship programs in the building and construction trades that utilize a group model to reach 3 or more counties, we're asking that at least 6 employers or locations be served, as well as 40 apprentices from traditionally underserved populations during the grant period. And for applicants focusing on expanding existing registered pre-apprenticeship programs in the building and construction trades that are replicated across 3 or more counties, we're asking that the program align with at least 3 registered apprenticeship programs and serve at least 40 pre-apprentices from traditionally underserved populations during the grant period. Applications will be reviewed and evaluated by an interagency team. I ask that you please refer to the NGA for specifics on the evaluation criteria. We have, however, included a breakdown on this slide. We will have criteria relating to project design and management for a total of 30 points. We have criteria based on stakeholder partnership for a total of 20 points, as well as impact and sustainability for a total of 20 points. And of course, a budget form and budget justification for a total of 30 points. Again, the total points available under our scoring system is 100. So the NGA and related materials are available on LNI's grants website, which is included here on this slide. Applications must be complete, including all mandatory components, and submitted by 5 p.m. Eastern Time on April 26th, 2023. Again, that's Wednesday, April 26th, 2023. An electronic copy of the application and all required components must be emailed to the ATO grants at pa.gov resource account with the email subject, increasing diversity, equity, and inclusion in the building and construction trades through apprenticeships and pre-apprenticeships. All applications must be single-spaced on 8.5 inch by 11 inch paper with 1 inch margins using 11-point Calibri font. All application documents must be in portable document format or PDF, with the exception of the budget form, which must be provided in Excel format. Of course, page numbers must be provided in the footer. Documents may not include internet addresses or URLs that provide information necessary to review the application. In addition, documents must not include any proprietary or sensitive business information, as Pennsylvania may make it available to the public. Incomplete applications or applications that do not meet these specifications will not be evaluated or scored. If a project narrative is more than 10 pages, evaluators will only review the first 10 pages. So now I just want to take a moment and direct you to the application components that must be completed. First, we have a project summary page that can be found in Appendix A of the NGA. The Apprenticeship PA Smart application form can be found in Appendix B of the NGA. And then, of course, we have the project narrative, which must include details addressing all of the evaluation criteria, which can be found on pages 6 through 8 of the NGA. Applicants must submit a detailed budget that includes expenditures by line item. The budget will be evaluated based on the evaluation criteria, and of course, looking at cost reasonableness and the relationship to proposed activities. Budgets must be for the time period July 1st, 2023 through March 31st, 2025. The budget will become the financial basis for any grant award, including making cost reimbursement payments over the course of the project. So the budget form is available in Appendix C of the NGA, and it does also include some examples. We also ask that you use Appendix D of the NGA, which is focused on FSR cost categories, as an additional resource when completing the budget form to assist with the titling and defining of each available cost category. And here we have included a snapshot of the budget form, which I will be having Kent review here in a moment. You can see that the budget type is separated into admin and program costs with specific subcategories for administration, career and supportive services, and training. Again, we direct you to the FSR cost categories appendix. Again, that's Appendix D, and that'll help assist you with titling and defining cost categories. And it's just a general additional resource that we like to include with our NGAs. And of course, the applications must also include completed budget justifications. Each expenditure must be justified by line item, including the cost proposed in each category, as well as any other information to support the budget. We've also included budget justification instructions within the NGA. They can be found in Appendix E. You will note, as part of the budget form that's available on LNI's website, that there is a budget justification tab included as well. That is really more for preparation purposes. It is not a requirement to complete that tab. Again, we only ask that the budget form be submitted and completed. But again, we wanted to provide a tool as you work to create your budget justification tabs. Again, budget justifications really should be a narrative format and must be provided as a PDF attachment. So I do want to turn it over to Kent Paulson with the Bureau of Workforce Development Administration. Kent will provide a more thorough overview of these requirements. So Kent, do I have you on the call here?
Yes, my mic was off.
Oh, no problem. Kent, did you have anything you wanted to add regarding the budget form and the budget justification?
No, but I do want to go over it a little bit.
Sure.
I'll be reviewing several critical items with respect to the budget portion of your grant application. Further details can be found in the Notice of Grant Award, NGA, or on the LNI website. First thing to note is that this is a reimbursement grant, meaning that we will reimburse you for expenses you incur upon submission of an invoice with the required support documentation. Invoices are typically submitted by the 5th of the following month. We attempt to process all invoices within 1 week if there aren't any issues with the documentation. Payment is made by the Commonwealth through ACH deposits, typically within 10 business days of the date we approve the invoice. The budget form is included in Appendix C in the NGA, like Sam mentioned. Please use the Excel version of this document on the LNI website to submit your budget summary along with the rest of your grant application. Budgets must be for the full period of performance, July 1st, 2023 to March 31st, 2025. The budget will become the financial basis for any grant award. Administrative costs, which are defined in Appendix C, are limited to 10% of the total project budget. In addition, you will need to submit a budget justification as part of your application. This needs to justify each expenditure by line item. You need to itemize each of your expected expenditures, specifying the item, quantity, and frequency, and justifying how each item is necessary for implementing the project. The instructions for completing this document can be found in Attachment D in the NGA. Indirect costs, if included, must be supported by a current proven negotiated indirect cost rate agreement signed by the Federal Cognizant Agency or a de minimis justification and attached in the narrative. More details, information on invoicing procedures and the required supporting documentation will be given to the awardee at the time of the finalizing the grant award. Back to you, Sam.
Thank you so much, Kent. Appreciate it. Moving on, each application must have no more than 5 letters of support. Each letter should state how the proposal will help address the problem and goals of this NGA and its impact on the target populations and community. Applicants must describe desired outcomes of proposed initiatives and how the outcomes will be measured. This component should include measurable goals, outcomes, services, performance indicators, evaluation methods, target numbers to be served, and a timeline to meet the goal or outcome. Applicants are encouraged to use or should use the goals and outcomes table found in Appendix F of the NGA. And here, and I do apologize for the size, unfortunately unable to zoom in much more than this for the purposes of keeping it all in one slide, but we have provided a snapshot of the goal and outcomes table. Please note that we've actually pre-filled the outcomes table to include the outcomes as we align them or outline them, excuse me, in the project outcomes per grantee section of the NGA. Again, you will need to include the first 2 outcomes listed here regardless of your project. Those are focused on the affirmative action plans and the DEI strategy to be built. But then the remaining outcomes that are listed are really dependent or more based on the specifics of your proposed project. So be sure to indicate the applicable outcomes as necessary. We ask that applicants also provide a project timeline, including implementation steps, deliverables, and how those deliverables address the desired outcomes of the project. The timeline should be broken down by each quarter within the grant period. The timeline template can be found in Appendix G of the NGA. This template is also included in the NGA posting on LNI's grants website as a fillable Word document. And for your reference, we've included a quick snapshot of the timeline template here. In addition, applicants must describe how project partners will sustain the project beyond the grant period. The sustainability plan template is included as Appendix H of the NGA. And finally, pursuant to Executive Order 2021-06, which is the worker protection and investment contractors and grantees of the Commonwealth of PA must certify that they are in compliance with Pennsylvania's unemployment compensation law, workers' compensation law, and all applicable Pennsylvania state labor and workforce safety laws. The worker protection certification form is included as Appendix I in the NGA. All applicants and fiscal agents must be registered with the Commonwealth as a vendor. Applicants and fiscal agents that are not current vendors are strongly encouraged to begin this process immediately following the application submission by registering their organization with the Vendor Data Management Unit, or VDMU as we know it, at the website provided on the screen, or by calling 717-346-2676, or another number that's available is 1-877-435-7363. Applicants who are not registered with VDMU at the time of award may have their award rescinded. LNI anticipates a performance period beginning July 1st, 2023, and ending on March 31st, 2025, as we mentioned earlier in the conference. Awardees are required to enter into a workforce grant agreement with the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Again, grant costs will be paid by reimbursement only, and additional information on the Grant Award Administration can be found on page 11 of the NGA. Grantees will be required to submit program and fiscal progress reports during and upon conclusion of the funded project. All projects will be required to do a pre-evaluation and post-evaluation of the project. All required forms will be supplied by the ATO and will be outlined in the award package. For additional information on reporting and evaluation, please see page 11 of the NGA. So we will now begin the question and answer portion of the bidders conference. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to exit out of my screen. I will actually stop sharing and see if we've had any entered through the chat feature. And as of now, it appears that we have no questions that have come through the chat feature. So with that, not seeing any questions entered through chat, we will now open it up to, oh wait, we've got one come through. Is this funding only for existing apprenticeship programs? And then you asked a follow-up to clarify, is funding available through this grant to create a new program? So funding is only available for existing apprenticeship programs. So it would essentially be expansion projects. Do we have any other questions that are going to come through the chat before I open it? Okay, we've got another here. Will the slides be available to access after this presentation? Yes. So what we will do is we will not only post the recording of this bidders conference, we will also post the PDF versions of the slides as well. And then generally what we do is we also blast that information out and where to access it to attendees of the actual bidders conference. Okay, so now I see a few hands raised. I will go in the order that I've seen them raised. So first we have James.
How you doing, Sam? Can you hear me?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Question. If you have a group sponsor or a union and they want to do the 3 counties, do they need to just be operating in those 3 counties, or do they need to be located in those 3 counties as well?
So when you say operating versus locate, could you just clarify a bit more?
Like,
I just want to make sure I'm understanding the distinguishment.
Like they serve the people from those counties. They might not be located in, say, Chester County, but they're serving the people in those counties.
Yes.
And those people. Okay.
Absolutely, yes. So
Okay.
a reach across 3 counties is, it's really, it's either, actually having, a location in each of the 3 counties, but it's also having that footprint in the 3 counties with the program. That reach.
So they have to have a location in those 3 counties as well to serve the people?
It could be locations in each of the counties.
But more
the
importantly,
reach,
serving the people in the 3 counties.
Yep. The reach
Okay.
is,
And then
James, the best way to think about this is the reimbursement fund should be used across 3 counties.
Okay, perfect. And then I have another question. Say, you're serving 40 pre-apprentices in 3 counties. Do we have the autonomy to distribute those 40 pre-apprentices over the 3 counties as we see fit? Or does there have to be some type of equal distribution? Like if it's 3 counties, does it have to be 15, 15, and 15 or something like that? Or can it be, 38, 1 and 1?
Yeah, theoretically, it could be that breakdown is at the discretion of the applicant. Again, be sure to include that within your application. I think that would certainly be a vital component in terms of sharing that plan. But yeah, to answer the question, more succinctly, really that breakdown is to be determined by the applicant.
Okay, I have one last question, then I'll let somebody else ask a question. It should be
Sure.
a yes or no. Page 28 says Appendix J, and then 29 doesn't have, 29 is not tagged by any appendix. Is 28 and 29 both Appendix J in the NGA?
I'm referring to it here. Yes.
Okay.
That is correct. 28 and 29 is Appendix J.
All right, thank you.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, moving along. Denise, I see your hand is raised. You're next on the list. Although I saw you entered a question in the chat, so I'm not sure if we addressed your question already. If so, if you could just let me know, that would be great. Okay, great. And Anne, the same thing. I see your hand is raised. You're next on the list, but I know you had also entered a question through the chat. Did we answer your question via chat, or did you have another that you'd like to ask?
You certainly answered my question, and I thank you.
Great, thank you. And I did notice we had another question come through from Carolyn. So the question is via chat. To clarify, we can only bring into the program traditionally underserved populations, or will some traditional populations still count as the 8 if hired? For example, if 2 are traditional and 6 underserved, would that be acceptable? In that instance, the goal is all 8 would come from traditionally underserved populations. That is the main focus of this initiative, is to really target those underserved populations.
Carolyn, that doesn't necessarily mean you can't have other populations served through your program, but we wouldn't want them reported to us as reimbursement funds. Anybody who's utilizing reimbursement funds to meet the outcomes, that's all underrepresented populations. Again, you could serve above and beyond that and not reimburse them, but that would not be reported to us.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for that clarification. James, I see your hand is raised again. Can I answer your question?
Yes, sir. Page 7, there's the 2 charts, provide the following data.
Yes.
It's about journey workers and the demographic breakdown of journey workers,
Mhm.
and also apprentices. If we have 6 employers, let's say that's part of the 3-county reach,
Mhm.
do all 6 employers fill this out separately, or is this going to be filled out with all the 6 employers combined?
That's a great question. So I would do it separately. I think that's going to be just probably easier for the evaluators to review. Again, it wouldn't necessarily be a disqualifier if an applicant who, happens to not see this recording or see this question to the question and answer document, if they did combine it, it wouldn't necessarily have a detrimental impact. However, we would reserve the right to seek, and we certainly would seek further information if we felt that a breakdown was going to be necessary. So I would just encourage from the start, yes, to really break it down by employer. But again, it wouldn't necessarily be, you wouldn't lose any points for combining. But I would certainly expect in that instance that the evaluators are going to have questions, and we would certainly follow up with the applicants to get a further breakdown.
Sam, I have another question.
Sure.
Page 7, stakeholder partnership, the 4th bullet point, applicants' prior track record related to recent workforce grants, if applicable.
Mhm.
Question 1, if it's not applicable, do they automatically lose those 4 points?
So essentially how we would look at that is it would be you would not get the 4 points. However,
So you're on a scale of 96 rather than 100?
Yeah, so well what we would do in that instance is we would work out, and we do have a scale where essentially you'd almost get half points for something like that. What I would suggest with that particular requirement is if and perhaps this is something we should have incorporated into the NGA, but if there is no prior track record with recent workforce grants, then certainly any track record really with just grants in general is beneficial. So
What if the grantee, the prospective grantee, doesn't have experience, but one of their partners have experience? Could you potentially get the 4 points by?
absolutely. And
Okay.
again, that's, especially if you're looking at a partnership application, which, I think there's multiple avenues for that with this initiative. That's something that is certainly considered too. So I'm glad you asked that follow-up question. Absolutely.
Okay, I'll take a break. I have no more questions this time. Thank you.
No problem at all. That's what we're here for. We have plenty of time for questions too. We got through the overview pretty quickly, so we do have some extra time. Denise and Anne, I noticed your hands are still up. Do you have additional questions, or would you like to ask any? Otherwise, I would ask that you put your hands down. That would be great.
Okay, I lowered my hand. Never mind.
Great.
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, great. Again, any other questions we invite at this time? And I will try to keep it open here for a minute or two, because I know sometimes questions come about after some time has passed. James, yes, another question.
Yes, I saw something about the affirmative action plan.
Mhm.
The final DEIA or the affirmative action plan, that when it's final, that gets uploaded in Rapids, is that right?
Yes,
Okay, and
but
okay.
first that would be shared with the ATO for review. Of course, that would be by June 30th, 2024.
The affirmative action plan gets, that's actually that's done through Rapids, James, as you know. But
Mhm.
Sam has an actual template for the diversity, equity, inclusion strategy that needs to be shared with the ATO, kind of reviewed, et cetera. And then once finalized, would be uploaded into Rapids as well and saved in the library records here.
Okay, perfect.
And again, the ATO team is going to work with the grantees, the awardees, to really iron out the details as we work through the project on that too. Because I would think one thing we would want to do is prior to actually entering or working the affirmative action plans into Rapids, we'd certainly want to have an avenue to discuss with the ATO and allow for some feedback prior to that being finalized as well. So
I have one last question, if that's okay. It's a question
sure,
about
absolutely.
It's a question about the budget on page
Mhm.
16 of the NGA.
Yes.
Appendix C. Developing curriculum. Where would developing curriculum belong? I'm thinking C5, is that correct?
C5 or yeah, that in looking at the budget form, that would be your best.
How about events? We pay for
Events
events.
you could work into B3, which would be other program expenses.
Okay, and then for training, I'm assuming training is C5, but not necessarily exclusive to C5.
It depends on the type of training. Would that be training for your staff or the actual project staff or the training for the participants?
Training, yeah, let's say, I'm not talking about the training for the pre-apprentices, but training
Sure.
for staff.
Then I would work that into operational expenses, or actually probably more appropriate under other program expenses for that as well.
Other program, which one is that? Other
That's
program expense?
B3.
B3?
Yeah.
All right, and then how about training items and promotional items?
Again, I think in terms of now, would that be for the program?
Yeah,
like
training items for the pre-apprentices.
Then in that instance, that would go under category C5, other training expenses.
And then what about promotional items to promote the program in efforts to recruit?
C5 as well.
C5. Thank you, Sam.
Actually, and going back on that one too, you could probably even make the case for B3, other program expenses for that as well.
Promotional?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Sam.
Absolutely. Okay, so I will make one last request for any additional questions. Any questions, either through chat or through Teams? Okay, well, I again want to thank you all for taking the time to attend this afternoon's Bidders Conference. Again, we will be posting a recording of this conference in the coming days. We will also be transcribing the questions that were asked throughout and working out the questions and answers within that document and posting that to the LNI grants webpage. Again, allow for up to 7 business days for that to be posted. Again, questions that are thought of beyond today's bidders conference can be sent and submitted to the ATO grants at pa.gov resource account. Again, that's ATOGRANTS@pa.gov. And we will answer those as we receive them. Please note that the question and answer document that is uploaded as a result of this bidders conference is actually a fluid document. We will add questions as we receive them through the resource account and post updated versions regularly. So, just be sure that you're checking the L&I Grants webpage, throughout the posting period here. Again, deadline for submission is Wednesday, April 26th, 2023. So again, want to thank you all for taking the time this afternoon to join this bidders conference. Any questions? Again, please reach out to the ATO Grants resource account. Otherwise, everyone enjoy their afternoon and have a great evening.